The Postman Always Rings Twice, released in 1946, stars Lana Turner as Cora, John Garfield as Frank, and Cecil Kellaway as Nick. So we have to go back in time. It's 1946. Lana Turner is known as a sweater girl, and a sweater girl at the time would probably be the equivalent of an Instagram model today. You make a lot of money, you get a lot of attention, but no one really takes you seriously, and you have a very short shelf life. While researching for this movie, I went down a sweater girl rabbit hole. A sweater girl was basically a woman who wore tight sweaters and had breasts. Lana Turner was probably the most famous sweater girl of all the sweater girls at the time. It would also go on to eventually include people like Jane Mansfield and Jane Russell. A woman named Francine Gottfried actually became a sweater girl despite the fact that she was just a private citizen. She worked at a bank, and men would stand around while she was waiting for the bus just to stare at her. When I say men, I'm talking like a Beychella-sized crowd. We're talking thousands of men. Anyway, I'm sorry, back to the movie. So one of the things people always talk about when it comes to this movie is the fact that the title is very interesting. The Postman Always Rings Twice. The writer of the book that the movie is based on, James Cain, who also wrote Mildred Pierce. He originally called this story Barbecue, which the publisher hated. People communicated by telegram back then, and when the publisher was sending a telegram, the postman would always ring twice, and that's how James knew that he was going to be hearing from the publisher. So that's one reason that it's called that, but there's also another reason it's called that, and we'll get into that at the end of the movie. So we open up down a dusty-ass road. A nomad named Frank is getting out of the car. He's obviously a hitchhiker. And he answers a man wanted sign. It was so easy back then. The help wanted sign is for a diner worker. The diner is attached to a gas station, and it's run by a man named Nick. Nick decides to hire Frank, and Nick tells him that the job doesn't pay much, but you do get to stay there for free. You get to live there. While Nick steps out to help a customer, we have a grand entrance from Lana Turner as Cora. This entrance is iconic. It's almost like Marilyn Monroe in the Asphalt Jungle or Cameron Diaz in The Mask. Cora dropped her Prozac, and a smitten Frank fetches it for her. I just spent a really long time off camera trying to cover up this one eyebrow so that I can make it very thin the way she has it in the movie, because the point of these videos is to recreate looks from a movie. I think that this video is God's way of telling me I was meant to be a hairy Italian woman, because I could not cover this up for anything. This is God saying to me, nay, nay, bitch. The same way your mother was a hairy Italian woman, and her mother before her was a hairy Italian woman, you too shall be a hairy Italian woman. You are not going to mess up what I created.
One eternity later.
This is the best I'm going to do right now. Back to the movie. We find out that Cora is actually married to Nick, and I guess they're in some kind of sugar baby situation, but Cora herself does not live like an extravagant lifestyle. She works at the diner too, so maybe she's just looking for security? At some point in the coming weeks, Frank and Cora get into an argument that leads to them kissing. I guess Frank was super into it, but Cora wasn't. She's actually more annoyed that he ruined her lipstick. So it's obvious at this point that Frank is attracted to Cora, and Nick, her husband, doesn't notice at all. One night, Cora decides to go swimming, and Frank wants to join. And you know what? Say what you will about Lana Turner, because she did possibly kill someone in real life. She knows how to preserve her curl set. I've never personally frolicked before, but that's clearly what Frank and Cora are doing, and it gets serious because when they get home, Cora offers to make him food.
Oh, do you like lemon meringue pie?
Well, I don't know.
I'll make you some tomorrow.
Nick is really, really lost in the sauce.
It's you, Cora. I thought it was a customer wanting gas.
Were you worried?
No. Honey, I didn't expect you back so soon. Good night, Frank.
Frank and Cora grow closer and decide to run away together. So Cora puts on her best hiking heels. They've probably only been walking for an hour and they're all ready to give up and go home. When they get home, they decide to murder Nick. Their attempt to kill Nick and make it look like an accident is futile. They're going to drop a bunch of marbles while he's getting out of the bathtub, and I think they're going to turn off the lights, which is so elaborate. Like, I half expect them to make him a meat suit and then leave him in the woods for a bear to eat. Like, there are easier ways. Kitty gets killed in the process, and I'm not okay with that. So the Bonnie and Clyde version of Romeo and Juliet decide they're going to hit Nick in the head with a bottle and push his car off a cliff. Their plan does not go accordingly because Nick ends up falling off the cliff too. Cora survives, and thank God, so does her matching purse. Oddly enough, she's picked up by Nick's lawyer, who doesn't believe their story. The lawyer gets a hospitalized Nick, who, remember, fell off a cliff, and miraculously only sustained a head scratch. Hume Crone plays Laura's lawyer, and he defends her in a sensational trial. Frank and Cora are sequestered in a room together where they basically turn on one another, and Laura dictates to a typist a confession. During the trial, Laura pleads not guilty, and Hume Crone is able to get her off. After the trial, Frank and Cora go back to running the diner, and business is poppin'.
Mrs. Smith, would you kindly give me your autograph?
Sir, your wife is asking a murderess for her autograph. You better start sniffing that coffee in the morning for antifreeze. Hume Crone shows up and tells them that the DA is suspicious of the two of them living together, so they decide to get married. So, do you remember the man who typed up the confession? He saved the confession, and now he's blackmailing them. A Three Stooges fight ensues, and Frank is able to have all of the copies of the confession destroyed. At this point in the story, Frank and Cora start turning on each other. They think either one of them is going to snitch or they're going to try to murder the other one. Oh, but then they make up and go swimming. This is a scene that's very pivotal in the movie. So up until this point, Cora has been wearing protective turbans. And tragically, she ruins her curl set. Also, after they swim, they get in a car accident and Cora dies.
Cora.
And Frank is charged with her murder. That's what they both get for killing the cat. So, back to the title of the movie. Frank and Cora murder Nick, but are able to go scot-free. Frank is actually never even charged, but he ends up getting charged with Cora's death, which actually was an accident. So the title is saying the postman always rings twice, it meaning justice will always come around. Like if it misses you the first time, it'll get you the second time. The movie had a budget of $1.3 million and took in $4 million at the box office. It also made people start looking at Lana Turner differently because remember I said she was a sweater girl, and this gave her a nice dramatic role to prove that she wasn't just a lot of sweater, that she actually had some substance. While I enjoyed this movie, it is incredibly long. There are so many things in this movie I completely cut out. You can omit so much of this movie and still have a completely cohesive storyline. The movie sometimes has a mini-series feel to it because of all of the plot lines they add that are quickly solved. Now, to the looks. Irene Lentz was the costumier for the movie. She also did Ginger Rogers' dresses for the movie Shall We Dance? The looks that Cora wears in this movie are all monochromatic. We only see her not wearing white twice in the movie. Once in the black robe. Look at me, luxurious. And again when she goes to her mother's funeral. These looks are extremely smart for the character. If you remember, I said Cora is not trying to be a rich woman. She just wants stability. She doesn't really accessorize with jewelry. She'll instead accessorize with practical items like a turban or a purse. Her look reminds me so much of Carolyn Bessette Kennedy, even though she predates Carolyn by decades. You can take both of those women and put them in any era and they completely fit in. So this is it. This is the completed look, and I realize now that I contoured my forehead for no reason because you can't even see it. Thank you so much as always for watching. I always appreciate the views, and I'll see you in my next video, which is either going to be another Lana Turner movie or is going to be Splendor in the Grass. If you like this video, please like it, but if you love it, please consider subscribing. Thank you. Bye.
You mean he's not from the DA's office?
He's a plainclothes dick if I ever saw one.
He used to be a dick, but he's not a dick anymore.